are back for another session of More Than Mind, one of my favorite things that I do up on the internet and social media, because it's all about finding what is going on in this brain of ours. And this lady right here, Dr. Shaheem, she is the lady that has been helping us and guiding us through all these different things that these questions that we have in life. Why do things happen this way? Why does my brain do this? Why am I feeling this way? And we are back again for another session. This one is good, Dr. Shaheem. This one is good.
This one is good? Better than the others?
No. I always say that every time I do a session with you, I'm like, that was the best one. And then I do it again. That was the best one.
You know, and what we're trying to do is, there's so much information out there, Shelley. Every day we're bombarded with so much content, whether it's cliches, platitudes, words of advice, from coaches, psychologists, or even individuals who want to share bits and pieces of guidance about what has worked for them. It's hard to navigate through this self-help world. So one of our main aims for More Than Mind has been to kind of, extract the central tenets or central nuggets, the key distilled points associated to various topics that we can sort of put on a silver platter and to hand over to our listeners and our viewers, just to help ease the kind of challenges and obstacles we all face on a day-to-day basis.
I am obsessed with self-growth. I go through this every single day as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, as a daughter, as a professional. And I feel blessed to be able to have this platform to take people on this journey, to understand better that life is all about growing, Dr. Shaheem. It's every day we grow, and our lives change, our roles change, the challenges of life change who we are. And depending on how we adapt to those changes and how we face those challenges in life, I feel like take us through almost like a game of Candyland. Have you played those board games, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Or snakes and ladders, you go up and then you come back.
Yeah. But depending on who you are and who we are and our mindsets, right, will determine whether we woo down or we keep climbing up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it was around 15 years ago, Shelley, I was introduced to this concept of a growth mindset. Okay. And someone asked me, they said, have you read about a growth mindset? Because you demonstrate many of the practices and attributes associated with the growth mindset. Well, of course, I was fascinated at that point, and I started doing research on the topic. And where does growth mindset come from, and what does it mean? Professor Carol Dweck from Stanford University about 40 years ago started a research identifying these different types of mindsets that lead to success. She wanted to see who are these individuals that are successful and happy and well achieved in their lives, and do they have a different perception or viewpoint of understanding the world around them and the way in which they, like you said, what is the sort of roadmap that they have on going up the ladder, sliding down, getting back up again, and what is the secret sauce to the way that they do things? And so she published this book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And it's called How We Can Learn to Fulfill Our Potential. And it impacts parenting, businesses, schools, relationships, and a whole host of, it really taps in to so many different aspects of our life. So according to Carol Dweck, and as I mentioned, she's a Stanford University psychologist, she thinks success is not determined by innate talent and intellect, but
Okay.
rather success depends upon mindset, the degree to which we believe we have the capacity to cultivate our intelligence and to grow our abilities. So the idea here is that you don't come into the world with a set of natural talents and abilities, and that's it. Like, this is your DNA lottery, and this is what you've been handed out. And besides that, there's nothing else that you could do.
Okay.
She believes that when you understand yourself and the way that when you approach different problems in life, and especially if you approach them as opportunities, you can achieve far more, and you're capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit to. How did this start? Well, she started with this groundbreaking research in the late 1970s, where she took a random sample population of 350 students, okay? And she questioned them about IQ. She said there was two groups of students, right? She asked them, do you think IQ is genetic or it's something that's developed? Okay, and she put these people into two separate groups. Then she gave them 12 problems to solve. Okay, and these problems got more complex and difficult as you went along. So the first couple were a little bit easier, and then they got a little bit more complex and harder. At the end of the study, Shelley, what she found was the group of students who believed IQ is not genetic, that it can be developed. They are the ones that finished the problem solving, complex, the sort of the questions that they were given, the problems that they had to administer. And the group of students who thought IQ is genetic, they more often gave up halfway through the test and said, I don't know, I can't do this. I'm not capable of, I don't know what the answers are, and I give up. So in other words, what she was trying to demonstrate by this is that success depends on your mindset. If you think you're not capable of doing something, guess what? You're not going to be able to do it. And the degree to which we believe we have the capacity to stay engaged and to cultivate our intelligence, to grow our abilities, and to learn from mistakes is what makes all the difference. Now, how many times have you been in a situation, Shelley, when you're working on something, okay? You have a few options, right? Halfway through what you're working on, you could either, throw your hands up in the air and say, sorry, I can't do it. But a growth mindset asks you to just stay engaged. Stay engaged, keep reading about it, keep trying, and at some point, there's a magic moment where it clicks into place. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember at school, sometimes when you were, studying something, you just didn't understand it, and you just wanted to give up, And then, but if you just forced yourself to continue reading and rereading, so at one point it clicks. For the people who don't have a growth mindset and they give up, they're robbed of this rich opportunity to be able to grow and to add on to their capabilities. Okay? So let me describe to you the sort of difference between, as Carol Dweck describes, having a fixed mindset and having a growth mindset. Okay? These mindsets are key to an entire motivational framework. Okay? Fixed mindset motivation, the main thing I want when I do my work is to show how good I am at it. So this is something a person with a fixed mindset would say. Okay. I want to show I'm good at it. I want to show I'm competent at it. I want to succeed, right?
Okay.
So what happens when these people are unsure, or they're not, they're doubtful about how to do something? They don't ask questions. They don't show vulnerability. They don't put themselves out and take risks, because to them, what's important is to look right and to succeed. And God forbid anyone think that they're not capable. So they're constantly hiding behind this sort of wall of what's familiar to me and what I'm secure about. Growth mindset people, for them, it's much more important for me to learn and to improve than to show that I'm right or that I've succeeded. Okay? And it doesn't fall on this, it doesn't fall into neat categories. I want you to imagine growth mindset and fixed mindset on a continuum. Okay? And what does this look like? Let me describe to you the person with a fixed mindset. The person with a fixed mindset is the know-it-all. You tell them,
I can think about these people.
You think about all these people. You tell them, I'm going to send you on a training program about leadership skills. What? I don't need to go on a training. I can teach that course. What are you talking about? What are you reading? Wasting your time reading and watching. I can tell you more about this subject than anybody, right? People with a fixed mindset, when you give them feedback, their most common response is, look, this is me. Take it or leave it. This is who I am. Okay? They think that they have set talents and skills. They continue in these safe patterns of functioning. Okay? They resist and avoid change. For a fixed mindset, they're not agile and they don't embrace change. They collapse when it comes to having to pivot or to change something. They think it's the end of the world. Okay? These people often quit when the going gets tough. And they believe leaders, for example, are born, not made. Okay? They think that Mozart, musicians, and athletes, they're just born that way. Okay? Now, what does a growth mindset individual think? This person is not a know-it-all. They're a learn-it-all.
Learn-it-all! Yes!
They're a learn-it-all. They say things like, learning is lifelong. Development is lifelong. What's more important than not knowing is thinking that you know it all. That's much more dangerous than not knowing. They understand that they're not just human beings, they're human becomings. They can shape who they are. When you ask people with a growth mindset, Shelley, if you ask them, hey, Shelley, are you good at cooking? They never say, nope, I'm a horrible cook. They say, not yet.
Not yet.
The power of yet.
Yes.
This 3 letters of yet, if you put it at the end of anything that people ask you, they say, are you a creative person? Well, not yet, but with the right time, energy, persistence, I could be.
Oh, I love
Michael Jordan, Shelley. Michael Jordan, one of the most celebrated, incredible basketball athletes, players of our era. He was at the top, at that sort of, remember, the pinnacle of achievement. And after he retired from basketball, what did he do? He went into baseball. People laughed at him. They said, what do you do? You're a basketball player. We love putting people in nice, neat categories of who you are, who you should be. They said, why would you? This is suicide. Why would you even put yourself? He said, no, I am willing to put myself out there. I love baseball. I may not be as good as I was in basketball, but that's not important because I'm obsessed and in love with the process of learning, of growing and developing. And it doesn't matter if the outcome isn't as good as the journey. I don't care, but I'm going to still put myself out there, right? These people look for opportunities to change, to disrupt, to innovate. They persist, they're resilient, they bounce back from adversities, and they believe certain talents and abilities or leadership qualities, for example, are made, not born. Okay? So if we look at other ways in which they differ from each other, okay? I'll give you a couple of more examples. When people with a growth mindset are confronted by challenges, they roll up their sleeves and they say, yes, they get excited by the fact that I have something to work through. I have something to dig my teeth into, to try and understand and to try and learn from. People with a fixed mindset avoid challenges. They say things like, it's never going to work. And Shali, they're the first people, if it doesn't work, to say what? I told you so.
I told you so.
People with a growth mindset never say things like that. If we encounter obstacles, fixed mindset gives up easily. Growth mindset says, no way, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to find a way around this obstacle, or I'm going to eliminate the obstacle. Okay? People with a fixed mindset see effort as a waste of time. They're the kinds of people, Shali, who say, why do you put so much time and energy in your Instagram account or for your job? Like, come on, you have a job, you're making a certain living, at the end of the month, go spend more time with your family. Like, why?
Yeah.
They don't understand that every single drop of effort that you put into the ripple effect that it has, not only for you, but everybody it touches, is profound. So for mindset and Carol Dweck, everything's about the power of yet and the effort that's exerted regardless of outcome. Okay? People with a growth mindset, when you give them feedback, they thank you. They say, you know what? I never thought about that. Thank you so much. I'm going to use that as data to try and improve myself, or try and improve, aspects of the way I do things. People with a fixed mindset, what do they say? Oh, you think I don't have good listening skills, huh? Maybe you don't know how to talk. And maybe that's why I'm not a good listener. They get defensive, right? And they snap back. And then we have success of others.
Oh.
This one is a big one.
Oh.
This is where crab mentality comes in.
Oh, yes.
Okay? People with a fixed mindset, they look at others who succeed, they're jealous, they're resentful. They come up with lies and rumors about how that person got that particular. Of course she got promoted because she's best friends with the boss. Of course he got that particular job because he goes, they go golfing together every weekend. And they discount all their skills and abilities, and they make excuses for their success. And this is where crab mentality comes in. Crab mentality is a psychological concept referred to when you put crabs in a bucket, and when one crab tries to escape from the bucket, the other crabs, instead of learning the way to how to get out of the bucket, they grab the leg of the crab and pull it back down. Fixed mindset. But guess what? We're not crabs. We're supposed to be evolved human becomings.
We are
supposed to be, right? And people with a growth mindset, instead of pulling somebody down with illogical and unfair and unjust rumors and accusations about how they've succeeded, we should read about them and feel empowered and engaged and enabled, that if they were able to do it, how can I model that?
Yes.
And learn from it myself?
One of the examples also that I like when I'm looking, and it's very clear where my mindset is. Like I'm definitely on this growth mindset train.
Mhm.
In the challenges of life, I'll get messages often from people is you can't always like be this happy and life is difficult. But my growth mindset, I have a quote that I often lean on that I say, some people tried to bury me, but they didn't know that I was a seed. And in the biggest challenges of my life, which Dr. Shaheem, I have had some challenges that some of them I don't all unpack in public for everybody to see. But even in those dark times, the hardest times, the most challenging times in my life, because I do believe I'm in that world of the growth mindset, I use that as an opportunity to come back up and to grow again.
Yeah.
And when you talk about this, it was very easy for me to identify where I'm at. And then as you're talking about this, I think culturally, there are a lot of cultures
Yeah.
overall who are in that fixed mindset. Um,
Agreed.
but
Agreed.
brings me to that question of if there are people who are watching right now and you just went through this list and they go, I might be one of these fixed mindset people. And I think that I'm growth mindset. I want to pretend that I'm growth mindset, but I'm in the fixed mindset. What is the benefit of being in that world of the growth mindset? What do you get out of life
Yeah.
and to be here than if your choice is to be here?
Okay. So when you have a growth mindset, you are open to a world of opportunity, of learning and development. So you understand that you, up until a certain point in time, you've been exposed to certain information or experiences, but then that the world is your oyster. There's so much more that you could learn and grow as a result of. You will have better relationships,
Mhm.
and because you'll be able to communicate and be open to feedback and respect the perception of others, as well as have a deeper insight about who you are and the way other people perceive you. Now, it doesn't mean that you get shaped and molded based on everybody else's feedback to you, but it is data. And when you're open to receiving that data, it means that you're open also to growing and developing and improving. When you have a growth mindset, you take risks. You put yourself out there and you realize that just because I wasn't good at, I wasn't creative before, or I didn't embark on this particular initiative or this action, doesn't mean I can't start now. And for me to remain engaged in it, the power of yet, that I should, this way, when I believe in the power of yet, then I can try new things and I can learn from it. What you just mentioned right now, Shali, when you have a growth mindset, you don't see failure as a death. You see failure as a rebirth of an opportunity to look at that particular situation and what is it that we can learn from as a result of it. In Sweden, there's a museum of failed products. We always have, yes, we always have museums of artifacts and beautiful things and perfect things that are showcased. And this particular organizational psychologist said, you know what? Most people, when we see successful individuals, we think that this happened overnight. We think that, we don't realize that they probably had 100 failures before they had one successful idea. Why don't we talk more about that? Why don't we showcase these things more so the future generation can understand, look, there are no shortcuts. There is no easy path. And you really have to put yourself out there, take risks, learn from failure, shape yourself, and develop as a result of these challenges and obstacles that you face. And if you do so with a positive mindset to stay engaged, there is no other option than to grow. And it takes you down a whole different trajectory. Plus, can you imagine being around someone who says, this is me, take it or leave it, it's not going to work, don't do it, why do you want to do it? That person didn't really see, I mean, what a negative Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So even your relationships suffer because you stick your heels in the mud and you don't want to progress
As
and
you
move forward.
explain this, I think of so many adults who are in this, and it's, I don't want to say it's difficult, but somebody who, when you say that this is learned, if we could just teach our kids at such a young age, can you imagine? And now with my 4 kids in school, I am obsessed with learning ways to be able to, because they don't give you a manual when you have a child. They just come home with humans and they say, go raise them. But
Yeah,
how do
I
we
know.
get our kids at a younger age to be these people, so that they have very successful emotional lives?
Yeah, yeah. So let me share a few practical tips
Okay,
with what parents can do
I gotta write this
right
down.
away
These are
to teach
important.
the kids.
Okay.
So the first thing is for you to talk about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset in characters in a story.
Oh, okay.
Create a story of the difference between a know-it-all and a learn-it-all,
I can.
between a character who tries things and a character who says, no, I don't want to try it, I can't do it. And all you need to do is inject sentences in there that Tommy says, I can't do it. But Sally says, I can't do it yet. But if you show me, mommy, and if I practice, I might be able to do it. Right? So you talk about them, you read about, there's great books out there with fixed growth mindset, and you create these characteristics and to be able to show them what the difference is between them. Okay? Language and semantics is super important with children. When children say, this is too hard, rephrase their sentences and say, this is really hard for you right now. But soon, if you stay practicing it, if you stay engaged in it, if you keep trying, it's going to become easier.
Oh, I love
Right?
that. I love that one. I'm going to use that one next time my son complains about the piano, that mommy, this is really hard.
And watch their face, Shali. Please, I want you to tell me when they say, mommy, I can't do it. Say, you mean you can't do it yet, but I promise you're going to be able to do it. How, mommy, how? Let's keep trying. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. It's about you. It's very, very important for you to keep trying.
Okay.
The next thing is you have to have a culture in your house of talking about and celebrating mistakes. If you punish your children for mistakes, okay, they're going to avoid making mistakes and they're never going to reflect on what are the lessons needed to be extracted from making those mistakes. Okay, it does take more time and energy, but you need to foster a culture of let's talk about these mistakes. What did we learn from it? How are you stronger now as a result of this mistake? Okay, I'll give you an example. When I work with companies and consulting them on building more creativity and innovation, we came up with a system of every year you give team members and the staff 3 mistake cards. Okay? 3 mistake cards that at the end of the 6 months, they should utilize, they should have made 3 mistakes. We don't call them creativity cards, we don't call them innovation cards, We call them mistake cards. Why? Because if you're taking risks, if you're putting yourself out there, if you're being innovative, you might make a mistake.
Oh.
Right? So when kids are trying within their developmental process, of course they're going to make a mistake, but that should be celebrated.
Oh, I love this.
Right? Tell them there's nothing wrong. Why do you think kids hide their mistakes?
Yes.
Why do you think they don't talk about it? Because they're afraid of punishment. Why do you think staff and employees don't tell managers when mistakes are made? Because they're so worried about the repercussions of it. But if you have a culture of, hey, let's talk about what you learned as a result of that mistake. And how can we grow from that? And how can we share it so other people know about it, and maybe next time you're better equipped to deal with it? It is phenomenal. Next one. You've got to add the magical word of yet. Say, Mommy, I can't put on my socks. Remember, always tell them, you can't do it yet. Very important. It's the second time I'm saying it, but I'm going to repeat it again. Incorporate the word. Don't let anybody in the household say, I can't, without putting yet.
Yes. Okay.
This changes things.
Okay.
Okay. What you should praise, Shali, is not outcome. You should praise effort. The key to instilling a growth mindset in teaching kids is that their brains are like muscles, and that can be strengthened through hard work and persistence. And this is what you need to reinforce as parents. It's important to praise the effort. So it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, but it's the time that they have invested in trying to solve that problem, to build that building, whatever it is that they're working on, okay? And the research in this is absolutely amazing, because they've seen that when you praise kids for the process, that's what promotes this internal self-efficacy, because it reinforces success due to these variables that kids are able to control. And they're not so focused on failing or succeeding. They're more focused on sort of the effort associated with putting in that. And here's the beauty of it. When you do invest the time and effort, guess what? You succeed.
Yes. Yes.
But if you're constantly thinking about the grade you're going to get, you're anxious and you're worried about failing. Yes. So your brain and your mental capacities are not helping you to reach that goal.
So good, Dr. Shaheem. So good.
And the final point, avoid labeling your child.
Uh-oh.
Whether it's positive label of you're smart or a negative one, that, you know, oh, my child is a lovely child, but, you know, he's not very good at math. These all communicate a fixed mindset. Instead of motivating kids, labels like this can lead them to limiting beliefs about themselves. Okay? And you need to shift your language and replace these negative self-talk with phrases like, you know, highlighting their strengths and talking about the effort and the time that they put into improving a particular skill that they're engaging in. So avoid labels of smart or stupid, or, you know, they're not good at this or they're not good at that. It builds this sort of negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. And these are some of the things, I mean, even if you do 2 or 3 of these things with the kids, you'll see it's transformational.
Dr. Shaheem, I could sit here for hours upon hours upon hours and talk to you about all of these topics, especially when it comes to children. Because as you have mentioned, we have this responsibility to raise these humans. And I will never forget when you said this in one of our live sessions, to put them out into society. And these kids are going to be other people's spouses and their friends. And when you said that, it just sat so deeply in my heart to even work harder, to do what I can for my 4 babies. And I hope by doing this, we're sharing this with all kinds of mommies and daddies and people, not only to help improve their lives, but for this next generation as well. So can I ask, please, maybe we can work on a few child series more?
Sure.
Can we do that in the future? Because I'm thirsting for it.
Absolutely. Remember, our sessions here, Shali, are educational. They're learning sessions related to growth and development. As you know, I'm a cross-cultural psychologist, and my focus has been more on issues of personality and cultural identity. I'm not a child psychologist or a child development expert, but I've certainly taught on the subject. And the subjects that we can do justice and we're able to present research-based findings to help our parents, I'm more than happy to do so. And maybe in the future we'll bring experts, that are related to these fields. Many of my colleagues are experts in that field, and we could have a 3-way conversation with them for sure.
Love that, love that, love that.
Yeah.
We haven't done it yet. My life, girl, like one session at a time. I'm like walking around like Dr. Shaheem said this. I
love it.
Find somebody today and just tell them everything that I learned. You are amazing. Thank you for your time again. And if you want to be in touch with Dr. Shaheem, or if you have any ideas of things that are sitting in your life and stirring up in your life, you are more than welcome to message her on Instagram. Her handle name is @Dr.Shaheem, and maybe it'll be a topic that we explore on More Than Mind. Dr. Shaheem, thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Shali, my partner in More Than Mind and all things related to raising acceptance and awareness about mental health issues. Thank you, Shali.